Okay, guys, last time we talked about tissues in general, and we talked about what kind of tissues there are, and we even talked about the characteristics of epithelium. Now we're going to talk about the specific types of epithelium. So, epithelium has two names to each of it. It's going to be how many layers and what the shape is. So, if it is simple epithelium, it's one layer, one cell thick. If it's stratified epithelium, it's going to be many layers, two or more. The second one is going to be its shape. So squamous is going to be a flattened one, kind of disc-like, like a scale. Cuboidal is going to be cube-shaped. Columnar is going to be column-shaped. So you will label things simple squamous, stratified squamous, simple cuboidal, stratified cuboidal, simple columnar, stratified columnar. All right. So in this case, this picture here, let me get my pointer going. This is simple squamous, one cell layer thick, and these are flat scale-like squamous cells. So this is simple squamous here. And this is going to be found in your like alveoli. And then here is your stratified squamous. So the top layer, and you're always looking at the apical or top layer for the shape. The top layer is nice and flat, just like it is here. So that's squamous cells. And you can see that there's lots of layers. But don't be confused because down here, the bottom shape is kind of cuboidal shaped. And that's okay because we're looking at the apical or top layers for the shape. So because it's flat at the top, it is stratified squamous. So simple squamous, stratified squamous. And this is going to be this skin. Oh, sorry, back up. All right, so here are the three shapes. The squamous shape, flat, squat if you need, cuboidal shaped, cube-shaped, and columnar shaped, column-shaped. Now, simple squamous is going to be for absorption, secretion, and filtration. It's going to be where they don't have a lot of cytoplasm. They're really skinny little cells, and they go where there's rapid diffusion. So the kidneys, where it's filtering out your blood and making sure it gets out all the nitrogenous waste for your urine. Lungs, where oxygen goes into your blood and carbon dioxide comes into your lungs. The alveoli. There are two specific kinds, the endothelium and the mesothelium. The endothelium is going to be around your blood vessels, your heart, and your lymphatic system, very inner. And then the mesothelium is going to be this membrane around your ventral body cavity. So remember, the ventral body cavity is your thorax and your abdominal pelvic. So the membrane around there is going to be simple squamous. This is what simple squamous looks like under a microscope. This is where the simple squamous is, the lines. And my thing is bigger than it should be, but let's go with this one right here. So that dot is more than covering up one cell. The dot next to it, see the dot inside? That is the nucleus of the cell. And then I'm going to outline it. So there is one cell. And then next to it is another cell, and another cell, and another cell, and another cell, and another cell. And they're all next to each other, but not stacked. This is going to be alveoli. So this is all air. This is all space. So as you take a deep breath in, back again, sorry. The oxygen goes in and it passes past this into the blood vessel. And then the carbon dioxide goes from the blood vessel straight into the alveoli, and then you blow it out. Now, simple cuboidal cells are a single layer of cube-shaped cells, and it's cube-esque. They're not perfectly shaped. Nothing in the body is perfect. Their job is for secretion and absorption. So they form the walls of small ducts and glands, and especially also tubules in your kidneys. So this is their shape. It's a single layer of cube shapes, and they're usually going to be in a ring, in a circle. So this is that. And again, nothing in the body is perfect. It's a general shape. So I'm going to outline one cell. So here is one cell. And then here's the nucleus. You can see the lines of this cell a little better. So there's a line, line, and then the nucleus in the center. So there's a 1 cell, 2 cell, 3 cell, 4 cell, 5 cell, 6 cell, 7 cell, 8 cell. So all the way around are the cells in a ring. Now, like these, you don't see the nuclei, and that's just because they're just kind of pushed to the back where you can't see them in this picture. So these, again, are going to be around glands or ducts. So this is going to be opening. Whatever they excrete is going to go out and then be released. Simple columnar epithelium are going to be tall, skinny columns of cells. They may have little microvilli or cilia at the top, and they may have something called goblet cells in there. Now, goblet cells are single cells that are within columnar cells only, either simple or stratified or pseudostratified, which we'll talk about in a minute. They are the type of cells that help secrete mucus. So any mucus you think probably come from those goblet cells. Columnar cells are simple columnars for absorption and secretion of mucus, enzymes, and other substance. And then they have the cilia, those little finger-like things to help move that mucus so it traps things. Like in your respiratory tract, in there, you get the snotty nose. You get that because these columnar cells are secreting the mucus, and then the cilia is there to move it. And what happens is as you take a deep breath in, all the gas and dust and junk and food particles and whatever particles get trapped in that mucus so it doesn't get down into your lungs and cause an infection. And then the cilia help move it to where it goes to the back of your throat and you swallow it down into your stomach and your stomach dissolves and it goes away. Unless you're having allergies or some sort of illness, then it gets a little haywire and then you end up blowing it out because it's too much to go in. So you're going to find the simple epithelium columnar in your digestive tract, your gallbladder, some of your glands, some your bronchi, and your uterine tubes. So this is what that looks like. Again, one layer of long, tall cells. So here's the real picture of it. Here, let's see this one. This is one cell. The nuclei is right here, and the nuclei line up pretty nicely, nice and straight like this. So if you see long, tall cells and you see the nuclei line up nice and straight, it's going to be simple columnar. And do you see these just this little bit off the top here? That's going to be some microvilli. All right. Now, I didn't mention pseudostratified when I said stratified or simple. Pseudostratified is one cell layer thick, but it looks like many layers. So it is falsely layered. So pseudostratified, they're not nice and even the way it is in simple. So it's falsely, and they usually have cilia, big long things to move. They're specifically involved in mucus and they help sweep away. So specifically moving away that stuff in your respiratory tract. So your upper respiratory tract, your ducts of your large glands, and the tubules and testes have the pseudostratified. So the key here is going to be looking at one cell. So you see that the nuclei are kind of all over the place. They're crazy. You got some here, some here, some here. That's a big indication that this is pseudostratified. It looks like it's more than one layer. You think layer here, layer here, layer here, but really they all touch this basement membrane. So this is one cell right here, and it touches the basement membrane. Here is another cell, and it touches the basement membrane. Here, this one is also touching the basement membrane, but it looks like it's actually on top of this one, but it's not. It's just squished. So that's pseudostratified. Now we're going to move on to stratified epithelium. Okay, so with stratified epithelium, we get many layers, 2 or more layers. The new cells are always going to happen at that basal layer, and then they're going to get, as they get older, move to the top. And so the oldest layers are going to be the apical layers. This is going to be the oldest layers. Stratified squamous is the most widespread kind of epithelium, and that's all over your body. That's everything you see when you think skin. The free surface is very squamous. The apical surface is squamous. And the deep one is going to be closer to cuboidal, maybe even columnar. but we look at the apical or free surface for what we're looking at. They're located in areas of high wear, so that's why we need lots of layers, so that way there's a lot of layers if we get scratched or bumped or anything, and you kind of wear away the top layers until you get to the bottom layers. Keratinized cells are also found in there, and then there's non-keratinized cells in the moist parts, in the mucous membrane. So this kind of skin is keratinized. It's tougher than the mucous membranes, and so that's one of the reasons why it's different. So keratin is the stuff that makes up your hairs and nails, making them stronger. All right, so here's a picture of stratified squamous. It's going to look like this pretty often. You're going to look towards the end of something, and usually it has this wiggle. Ronan, sorry guys. And you can see that these bottom ones are kind of fat, and they get flatter as they go up, and these top ones are very, very, very flat. So this is my stratified squamous layers. Ronan, put it away. All right, now stratified cuboidal. Stratified cuboidal is actually very rare, and it's usually just 2 layers, so 2 layers. And it's only found in some sweat glands and mammary glands. So you're not going to see these you're too often if you're a male, and depending on what kind of cell or sweat glands you have. Now, stratified columnar is also pretty limited. You don't get a ton of it. You get pseudostratified way more often. But stratified columnar is going to be in the pharynx, in the male urethra, and the lining of some of the duct glands. They're usually somewhere between two different types. So usually you'll see pseudostratified columnar going into stratified columnar. So it kind of switches it over for you. So you'll have to make sure you're looking at the right part of your stratified. Only the top layer, the outer layer, the apical layer is columnar. The bottom layer is actually going to be cuboidal. You'll have to look those pictures up. They're pretty rare, so this PowerPoint doesn't have a picture of them. The last kind of tissue to talk about is transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium starts out cuboidal-esque, and then as pressure happens on it, it flattens. This is going to be found in your bladder, your ureters, and your urethra. So your bladder, when you have just gone to the bathroom, they're nice and full. And then as your bladder fills with urine, they flatten. And then they flatten so much, then your nerves get activated, and you're like, oh, gotta pee. And then you release it, and they fill back up. So, and it gives more space. So transitional is going to look a little more like this, and it looks an awful lot like stratified squamous, except for they don't get super flat at the bottom or at the top, the apical layer, and they're kind of almost teardrop shaped. So you're going to find those in the bladder. Now there's glandular epithelium. We will actually start with glandular epithelium in the next episode. So right now, to review, we talked about the types of epithelium. So we have simple and squamous. Simple, 1 layer, squamous, many layers. We have cuboidal, cube-shaped, columnar, column-shaped, and squamosal, flat-shaped. And we're always looking at the apical or topmost layer. And you would need both of those names for something. So simple squamous, 1 layer of flat cells. Stratified squamous, many layers of flat cells. Simple cuboidal, 1 layer of cube cells. Stratified cuboidal, usually 2 layers of cuboidal cells. Stratified columnar is going to be 2 layers, bottom layer going to be cuboidal and the top layer is stratified or columnar. And simple columnar is going to be just column-shaped cells. And then there's pseudostratified, which is going to look a little like it's stratified, but really they're just kind of all wonky. Though it's a total of, and then there's the transitional epithelium that look like it's almost like it has multi-layers of cuboidal cells, but they're actually a little more teardropped, and they can shift to being very flat depending on how much pressure is on there. We will move on to the type of glands in the next video, and I will talk to you guys later.